This is fascinating. The Torah tells us, Vayihi b'shkoin Yisrael. Now the Torah doesn't have, different colors. I put that in for us. Vayihi b'shkoin Yisrael ba'eretz hahi. Yisrael is referring to Yaakov Avinu, and he's called Yisrael over here. Yisrael is Kisarisa Elikim. It says better, his higher name, his holier name. He went to a certain place. Vayelech Ruen Vayishka B'Sbila Pilegesh Aviv. Reuven did something very bad. Vayishma Yisrael. Who heard? Yisrael. Then there's what is that? That's a pei, a fei. And that's right in the middle of the pasuk. The pasuk ends, Vayu b'nei Yaakov shnei maser. Who heard? Who we talking about now? Yaakov. So it goes into blue. Okay? Yaakov had 12 children. So then it goes, and it counts in pasuk Chav Gimel, b'nei Leah, b'char Yaakov Reuven. Who are we talking about? Yaakov or Yisrael? He's called here Yaakov. And then it counts all of them, and then it says, Eila b'nei Yaakov. So the question is, first of all, why within these two psukim does it start off talking about this person and uses the name Yisrael, and then even in the same pasuk, he's referred to all of a sudden back as Yaakov, and then in the next pasuk, it's talking, and again, Yaakov. Why is this flip-flopping? Why is he sometimes called Yisrael? Why is he sometimes called Yaakov? And then there's another question. How come there's a fei? What does this mean? Anybody know what this is called? A break, a separation. What's it called? A parsha? Psucha. Okay? So how come this fei, which means that not only is it a different pasuk, but it's a different chapter. Why is this different chapter brought in the middle of a pasuk? It's not even a separate verse. In the middle of a verse, in the middle of a pasuk, in the middle of a breath, in the middle of one sentence, it puts in new chapter? Doesn't make any sense. And then the next question is, he's telling you a story. Yisrael that Yisrael went ahead and went away on vacation. He went on a business trip. And his son went ahead and threw a party at home, and who knows what happened. Something very bad happened. And then, all of a sudden we're counting, Yaakov has 12 children. What does it have to do with the story? The Torah is now telling us how many children Yaakov had after they were all born. That's the next psuk, after the Fei, where there's a new paragraph where the Torah wants to tell you all the children of Yaakov, tells you Yaakov had 12 children, gives you their names, and says, Eila b'nei Yaakov. Well, what does it have to do with being pulled into the pasuk before? What is going on over here? This kasha is asked by Rashi and especially by the Ramban. We're going to learn the answer to the Ramban. It is mind-blowing. Okay. The Ramban says, Sipur akasuv an v'sanusai. The Torah is telling us an v'sanusai. I put it in green for a reason. We'll get to it soon. Kishama b'chlal b'nai yitzuav. Yaakov Avinu heard, he saw in the WhatsApp chat, that this kid, while I'm gone, you know what this kid did? He threw a party in the house, right? You just asked me, what should I do when kids are going to throw a party in the house? He saw it in the WhatsApp chat. He did what he did. It was very bad. He got punished. He lost a lot because of it. But he didn't say, listen, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, the rest of the guys, you make sure by the time I come home, this kid's packed up and he's out of there. He didn't command the rest of the kids, get rid of him, throw him out of the house, and he won't inherit together with them. Aval yimna imahem, he should be counted with them. V'yushneim asar, and I still have 12 kids. V'hu yimna rishain, and he's still counted as the bechor. He's counted first. V'lachein asar mishtei parshas pasuk echad. That's why the Torah took the second parsha, talking about how many children Yaakov has, and it sucked it into this verse to teach us, really, it's a totally different inyan that the Torah wants to tell us how many shvatim there are after they were all born, but it's pulled into this story, Remes ki Reuven lo nidche b'maisav, to be mirames to us, to teach us that Reuven was not pushed away because of what he did. What did Reuven lose because of what he did? Kahuna. What else? Malchus. What else? Bechayra. He had terrible spiritual losses by what he did. He lost kahuna. He was supposed to be the Kohen Gadol. He lost it. Malchus, you went to Yehuda. He was supposed to be the Melech. Lost it. Terrible losses this kid had for what he did. He also lost Bechayra. So Hashem goes ahead and says that he is not your Bechayra anymore. And then, right after that, the Torah says, "V'yu b'nei Yaakov shnei masar b'nei Leah b'chor Yaakov Ruen." And you can't say ein muktam or muktam b'Torah because it's pulled into that verse. So he's called the Bechor? Didn't you just tell me he lost the Bechor? He lost the Bechorah. He lost the din Bechor. So why does the Torah itself call him a Bechor? And then afterwards, Eile b'nei Yaakov. These are Yaakov's children. Says the Ramban. The message is, Al Pidin Torah, you lost the Bechor, but not Al Pidin Tati. You lost Taka a lot with Hashem, but you didn't lose anything from me. You were born to me first. You are biologically my child. You're always going to be biologically my child. And you're biologically my Bechor. You're still going to be always my Bechor. Hashem could take away the Dinei Bechor from you. That's between you and God. You lost Kahuna, it's between you and God. You lost Malchus, it's between you and God. You lost the Din of Bechor between you and Hashem. But you're my Bechor. You're always going to be my Bechor. Because there's nothing you could ever do that will take away that I'm your father, I'm your mother. There's nothing you could ever do that's going to make me demote you. You're not my Bechor. You're not sitting in the third seat. You're sitting in the first seat. And he's still going to be, I'm always going to count you first. You're always going to be the Bechor in this world. In the next world, that's up to you and Hashem. But in this world, you're my Bechor. A Tipi father pointed out something remarkable. The first two times Yaakov is called by his holy name, Yisrael. Yisrael is the Rebbe of Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael. He's the Rosh Hashiva, right? And he heard about what his son did, and it was certainly very disappointing to him. He knew that Reuven would lose out because of this. In fact, he lost out the Bechayr, the Malchus Kuna. These were three terrible spiritual losses for Reuven for what he did. However, when listing his children, he's called Yaakov. That's why he changed his names, maybe. Because even though spiritual Yisrael had an issue with what Reuven did, the father Yaakov did not demote his dear son in any way. So going back, we were thinking maybe that's Pshat. Vayishlach Yisrael, der Sheshivat gegangen, the Rebbe von Klal Yisrael went on a trip. He's the Rebbe, the spiritual leader, the spiritual guide. And the kid did something terrible. Vayishma Yisrael, and the Sheshiva heard, oy vey, my son's smoking in yeshiva. So he took off his Rosh Hashiva hat and he put on his Tati hat. He says, but I'm also a father. Vayibnei Yaakov shnei masar. But as a father, I still have 12 kids. Spiritual battles are between him and Hashem. But as a father, I now am a father and I have 12 kids. Eile b'nei Yaakov. He's always going to be my child. I had the schus to go to the Sadigai Rebbe, schus Yogan Aleinu, who's nifter young. And when I went to him, he told me, he said, Avi, it's very hard for me sometimes. Because he was here at group. He says, very hard for me because sometimes I have a boy in yeshiva. I'm the Rosh Hashiva. It's my yeshiva. And sometimes the boy really needs to be thrown out. He says, but as a Rebbe, I'm also the father. I'm also the father of these kids. He says, sometimes I'm really torn. I think about maybe as a Rosh Hashiva, it's time for this boy to go somewhere else. But as a Tati, I can't let him go. And I have to work harder because I care so much about them. And really, every Rosh Hashiva needs to feel that way. As the Nesiv Shalom, Schus Yogan Aleinu says, that he can tell how well the kid is going to do by how well the Rebbe loves that child. He says, V'rogelani, how do you say V'rogelani? And I'm used to asking, I'm accustomed to asking the Rebbe on each kid how much you love him, and then I know how well the kid is doing. How much do you love that kid? That kid's really like a 66. I don't need to check the marks. Right? That kid, I love him. He's 100. He's going to be 100. So really, every Rosh Hashiva and every Rebbe, part of us is a Yisrael, but you also have to be a Yaakov. You have to be a father. Isn't that beautiful? So that's what the Ramban is saying. That the Torah is telling us that even though he did something terrible, but the Torah pulls it in, very unusual. The next subject, to count Yaakov's children into this, to tell you his first reaction. His first reaction is, he didn't say, listen, Ad Kan, he lost Kahuna, Malchus, he did terrible things. Ad Kan, he's not my kid anymore. No, you're still my kid, you're still my Bechor, end of story. Now, what is the midah that Yaakov Avinu had that allowed him to be able to do this? So I put it in green. Anvasanusai. I don't care how holy you are. It's all about how humble you are. Because it takes a lot of anava to be able to do this. The greatest obstacle to doing the right thing is what you said before, 3-letter word, dangerous word, ego. And he would have sounded very holy. He would have said, was heißt? He's smoking in yeshiva. What are you talking about? He stole money on the credit card. I'm right. He's doing this wrong. He's doing that wrong. He would have sounded like very holy. There was once 12 kids, and he said, now, I used to have 12, now I have 11, because my son lost kahuna, malchus, b'chayra, and if he's not good enough for God, he's not good enough for me. And everybody would have said, pshh, look how holy. Says the Ramban, Sipar HaKosav Anvesonusai. He was an Anav also. And talking about Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov Lo Meis. He never did an Aveira. Yaakov is on one of the Raglei Ashchina. And yet he was an Anav. Who are all these people who are so full of ego? My house. Get out of my house. You're not going to do this in my house. It's all ego. It gets in the way of doing what's right to save the kid. The real tzaddikim, they had anava. Humble. So this is the midah that you need to work on. Everybody wants the kids to work on their midos. No, you need to work on this because you're going to need a lot of it to save your kid's life. If Ruen would have been nidcha b'maisav, we would have lost the whole shevet in Klal Yisrael. Yaakov Avinu said, I don't care what his issues are spiritually, what mistakes he made, but he's my kid forever. V'lei nidcha, I'm not even demoting him at all. Yaakov Avinu had 12 children, and yet he managed to keep them all at home. Why? Were they all perfect? No. Reuven sinned. Shimon and Levi embarrassed him. He told Shimon and Levi on his deathbed, he embarrassed me. So we have to learn from Yaakov Avinu. We have to practice this. Imagine that you hear right now something your kid does that's absolutely terrible. Your first reaction has to be, we had X amount of kids, 6, 8, 4, 12. We still have that same amount. And his seat at the table is in the same place. Here's a tip. Even if your child, your kip, may not attend the Shabbos meals, make sure to keep his seat empty, even when you have guests. Nobody sits in his seat. This is his seat. Nobody sits there. Eventually, he'll find out about it, and he'll know that you are doing this, and it will make a tremendous rosham impression on him. Some people even make a sign with his picture, and they write, reserved for Yankee, reserved for Chani. And they tape it onto the chair, so everyone will know that this seat is reserved for your dear son. And sometimes people said, well, he's going to feel funny being singled out. No problem. Do it for all your kids. Right? And his seat is still going to be there. And then he'll find out. Someone will take a picture before Shabbos or something. Your seat is here. You're busy. You choose not to be here. That's up to you. I had a story of a parent that told me, our kid, we threw him out of the house, or he didn't feel comfortable and he left on his own. And now he wants to come home, but we don't have a bed for him. We gave his bed away. Your child needs to have a bed in your house, a comfortable one. Even if they choose whatever, they're going to choose to come back. They need to know they're not homeless. Their bed is waiting for them. Beautiful bed. By the way, they're very cheap these days. A beautiful room that they need with all the stuff that will make them feel the most comfortable in your home. Now, you're going to have the same problem. You're going to hear stuff happens. and stuff happens, you're going to really, that first reaction is going to be, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. It's impossible. We're not doing this. Ad kan. You're going to sing the Ad kan song. Ad kan, 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 kan. You know the song? Kan, 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 kan. That's the Ad kan song. And you're going to want to say, I can't do this. It's not my kid. There's no such thing. It's not your kid. There's no such thing. Even though Reuven lost the Dinei B'chayra, but at the table, by the Malchus table of Yaakov Avinu, first seat was Reuven. Lo nidche b'maisav. Don't let your kids' struggles ruin or lessen their relationship with you in any way. It's going to take a lot of anavos. You got to get used to practicing. You're going to hear stuff, and some of the stuff is going to be really bad. And you got to work on it. My first reaction is, we had 6 kids, we still have 6 kids. We had 8 kids, we still have 8 kids. We're never going to give up on him. We're never going to demote him. We're never going to take away his seat at the table or v'layin chali mahem. We're not cutting anybody out ever. That's following in the footsteps of the Torah. That's what the Ramban and Rashi tell us. That's what Yaakov Avinu did to save his son.